Good afternoon, everybody, and thank you for Dr. Kashif Salim for the invitation here at the King Saud University, the Center of Excellence Information Assurance. And thank you all who attended here today and who's watching us or hearing us online. I know it's a good practice nowadays to have an online presence with everything happening. But I'm glad I'm with you today, and we're here to talk about latest industry trends in cybersecurity. So I'll be your presenter today. I'm Dr. Raad Amar Spate. I'm a professor at the University of Cumberland. I'm a professor of cybersecurity. I've been teaching cybersecurity for the last 10 years in different universities. I started with the University of Maryland University College and online, and then worked in different universities across the U.S. Most lately, I'm working with the University of Cumberland. I'm also a part of several conferences. One of them is the IT, the International Technology Next Generation Conference, and the International Computing Machining. So we publish different papers every year on topics in cybersecurity. So please stop me if you have any questions, and we can have discussion afterwards. We'll try to go as slow as possible. But that's what we wanted to cover today is the business trends and cybersecurity. We want to talk about readiness when it comes to cybersecurity. What does that mean for us? And the third one is the future outlook. That's a question we always ask ourselves. So what's success for us when it comes to the outlook itself? So the first part is what are the industry? Where are we going? We heard from our colleagues here in the room that IoT is an interest, and there's a reason why IoT is good, correct? And one of the big reasons is back just recently we had 8.4 billion connected things, correct? And today we are exceeding 20 billion connected items. So imagine the number of connectivity we're dealing with, and the opportunities for people, for hackers, opportunities for people to get to your personal space, to get to your information, to really disrupt what you do every day. So if we look at ourselves, we just look at the number of phones, the devices, the pods, the watches. I mean, we're all connected now. You go to our home, you see all different of devices with your car. So that's with all the technology happening. It is important that we keep the defense up and running, keep ourselves in that ready mode. And it's not just when it comes to the hard part of it, but also to the soft part. A lot of people think about cybersecurity when it comes to the hard part, to the routers, to the edge, but we also talk about even the soft part. A lot of attacks happening in the soft layer itself. So if we look at the business drivers today, like we said, traditionally, people were really very much they're concerned about configuration management, passwords was a big issue, intrusion, access controls, firewalls, network servers. This is traditionally where we are in our way. So we look at antivirus and different mechanism to kind of work on it. But as we look at the new trends, we are more now concerned about cloud. We cannot really not be in the cloud because cloud has been everything we are connected is to a cloud source. We have to look at data and data handling. The data thing is we have to look at the devices. We're all mobile. Mobility is very important for us. So we have to look at the different mobility options we have and how to secure them. We're global. As global we are in our business, in our whatever work we are. So it's looking at more globality. We want to be more self-service. We want to reduce our cost by self-service. So all this different aspects of our evolving and new technology is giving us that challenge to look at things like assets, like governance, like mobility, digital, privacy. So there's more and more of it to come. So it is to us to bridge the gap now, to look at things, new things we never looked at. It is now an opportunity for us to look and to make sure that we close the gap. So what does it mean for us? I mean, it means for us a lot of our work we do is self-serve. We want to be able to be self-serve. One of the trends is the more and more push to self-serve. They want to send you a device home and you have to configure it by themselves. Then STC, Mobily, they want to upgrade you, but they don't want to send a technician home who spends half a day trying to figure out how to get you up to the next speed. So he wants to make sure that he sends you a device, you plug and play. This is what 5G wants to be, correct? So with that coming in, we're looking at more connectivity. You wanted to have a call center, you want somebody just to go and automate you and go to a different call tree. So there's more and more as we go, people for opportunities to do self-serve. The second one is plug and play, correct? How many of you have a router that you want to plug it in and you want it to work by itself? You want to put a restriction, for example, for your kids, correct? You want to put some kind of controls on them. If you're in corporate, you want to put more controls on employee users and some work. So you want a device that can be able to discover, configure, topology, and API in the same time. So really, you want it to work by itself. That's what you want. You want it to just plug it and play. No need to worry for somebody to come in and to have that overhead into the work you're doing. So with self-serve comes plug and play. With more enabling, more devices that you wanted to put and make it work and provision and be there, you have to have also this plug and play feature. So here, our role as engineers, as people practitioners, we have to look at the different opportunities we look at, correct? In our base of what we do is networking is the core, our core long haul and backhaul technologies. It's the core of like the fibers that we're running in. Then we have the edge, correct? The edge is where the routers, switches work. And then you have, of course, the devices that you plug everything in that time. So what we wanted to be is we wanted to have that opportunity as the business evolves, as the trend is evolving, that we have that balance between the core and where we are in our edge and our devices. So there is that opportunity of balancing between having a core that's secure and then IoT that works. So that's where we are in that perspective. So when it comes to readiness, what are the things we look at nowadays? What are the latest things we look at as professionals in this space? So that's a basic of a closed loop environment. So you have operational readiness. You want to say, okay, let's see where are we ready in that perspective. The first thing is visualization. When you look at the network, you are able to visualize the topology of the network, able to see where is this flow going. If there's anything coming in the flow you have to have performance visualization. You want to know that if your network is performing up to bar or not. You want to know if you have the device that are stopping any intrusion or not. So that's very important in the visualization one. The second one, which is another important aspect, is correlation. Now, a lot of time when we put up security guards, we have a lot of alarms. We have a bunch of them. We have more than what we can handle. And this is the time where we look at, okay, how can we figure out using AI/ML, using machine learning, what really makes sense? What are the things are repeating? What are the metrics that we need to look at? What are the right things we want to be ready for? The other one in the production itself, the platform, looking at the network function virtualization. So starting looking at things like instead of having routing, have a functional one, having a SDN, a software-defined network. So more and more moving into a virtual network from that side. The other one is open loop. Open loop, we're having that loop where we can look at the alarm and make sure that we have a systematic way of approaching it. The other one is the closed loop. Closed loop where you look at what are the feedback in that closed loop environment, look at the definition, and the final one is integrating your virtual network function. Integrating it so that it makes sense, you can look at it as it goes. So this slide summarizes from an industry perspective. If you want to deploy cybersecurity, what are the things you need to be very much looking at from a virtual visualization perspective, platform, from an inclusion, from a correlation, and from a loop. That's on one level up. But if we want to take it to a level down and look at tools that we use, and we always, when address tools, we don't address it just by tools when it comes to technology, but we have to look at it holistically. So we have to look at tools for a people perspective. When we talk about people, when we talk about awareness, when we talk about implementing a program, we have to look at implementing a role-based training. So putting at security mavens, making sure people know they have the secure code warrior training. So if you have a team of folks that are doing IT, they have to be trained on how security works. That's very important. So having mavens in there is very important. To train dedicated security mavens who can be your POC at work, your folks, your go-to folks, the SMEs in the field of security. You have to increase awareness and buzz by hackathons and gamification. A lot of folks nowadays, especially the younger generation, they want to understand security in a more simpler area. So this thing is to really put it in a game and put it in a hackathon to encourage more and more awareness to just a game instead of just really trying to get them. And the third, of course, from a people perspective, is looking at it from a dashboard. So having that developer dashboard to analyze feedback and training. So it's a closed loop in that perspective. That's from a people perspective. When it comes from a process perspective, you need to really, there's a term, we had a DevOps term. You heard of DevOps term before? DevOps is development and operation coming together. So trying to integrate. What the newest trend is so-called DevSecOps. So development, security, and operation. So you have to integrate the scans into the life cycle. It's not an after fact. It's not like, okay, you discover the holes after it's been deployed. No, it's while you're developing, before you deploy, you look at security scans. You look at implementing OSCP. That's implementing if there's any vulnerabilities within it and having it in your process. The other one is logging. Very important. Of course, stopping a log, not just the log itself monitoring, but correlation of those logs, making sure that you understand those logs and their how do they relate to each other. The other one is open source. Nowadays, open source is big, and we have to take care of the holes that it comes with. So open source code scanning is very important part of it. The third item here is the data and perimeter protection. So it's not enough that we have the application, but you have to have a PCI secure app. Correct? You have to have the parameters itself being secured, firewalls, VPNs, whatever it takes to secure the app. The other one is like a web threat detection. Correct? We have tools there to make sure that we are protecting our perimeter through interfacing applications. So we're doing whatever tools we have there that we can help us, RSAs and Wiresharks, to secure our internet-facing applications. The last one here is the last part on the operation perspective is vulnerability management. It's very important. We talked about risk and compliance. There is always vulnerability that will happen. So we have to look at how can we manage it, because it will be there. How to manage the top ones, ready made them, make sure we have scans there, and make sure that we have a time frame for them to be closed. So it's not always open. So this is how it helps us make sure that we will have areas, and the areas have to be addressed accordingly. Now, so we talked first about the business trends. We talked about IoT and the blog and the self-service. We talked about how this will help us with the plug-and-play approach of device we know and the ability to be ready in the different aspects of it. So really for us in the future, as looking forward to transform the way we had, it is, I call it the B approach, like a B. So B, you have to collaborate. It cannot happen on an island. You cannot be in a center of excellence in an island. You have to collaborate with industry partners. You have to collaborate with academics. You have to collaborate with NGOs. You have to collaborate with schools, with STEMs. You have to collaborate. It doesn't work without collaboration. Collaboration is very important. Another part of it is scale. I mean, sometimes, yes, you can do it in a small scale, but scaling up is very important. And the third, of course, when it comes to cybersecurity, is speed. So it's really like a bee. It's a bee in the sales approach. If it's not taken care of, it can sting you back. So that's the B approach of transformation when it comes. So those speed, scale, and collaboration, we have to look at it from those aspects. The aspects of we have a nowadays they say that data is the oil of today's world. If the oil is, I don't know, today 28, 29, maybe data will be more expensive in years to come. So we have to really take that into consideration. That data itself is like the oil we have today that we are being using. Technology on top of it, automation is very important as we look at things, and then self-serve ourselves. And the final thing is intelligence. So it's not enough to have the data, but it's getting the insights of what the data tells you. It's the intelligence, like the refinery, between oil well and a refinery. So you can get the crude oil out, but without refining it, it doesn't really have that value. As the crude oil, when you refine it, is the gasoline that really makes more business sense. Same thing here. It's that that hierarchical approach of having the data, making sure it's enabled to go there. Now, there's a part of it, it's cultural. When it comes to dealing with cybersecurity, you have to also be very. We cannot run without crawling. So it's a crawl, walk, and run approach. So in that perspective, the first thing, we're starting with a manual approach. Right? We all go there. We start to go and log and see what's going on. Then we start one touch, and hopefully in one day we can with a zero touch. No need for anyone to touch it. It's all integrated. It's all self-served within the platform itself. So that will take time. That will take effort, but it should start. It should start, as we said, it start with scrolling, we're walking, and finally, hopefully, it's the running part. It's step by step, but we start somewhere to go forward with that. So, what's the prospects in the future, as we say, for securing our future, is the auto detection of our plug and play. Very important aspect of it. The second aspect is the AIML. It's artificial intelligence and machine learning deployment. The more we put on programs to understand how our data is working, what our weakest point, we cannot do that. Then self-serve, very important to automate. And the last one is the zero-touch culture, making sure that without our devices is working without our really intervention in that aspect. So I went through it quickly, but I'll open for any questions of the material covered. So here, if we wanted just to summarize, as we said, we started talking about the business drivers with the blowing up of IoT and the devices, and we're here. We are just in the same time we're having that IoT conference in Riyadh. It's a big deal because it's the future. It's what's happening today. Number two is, as that's going on, we have to invent more and more into self-serve. We have to invent more and more into that provisioning, self-provisioning side. The third thing we talked about is the readiness. For us to have all these devices on our disposal, we have to be ready when it comes to security itself. Security itself, to be ready, we look at the people, process, technology, vulnerability aspect of it. It's a holistic approach. It's not really targeting one approach. It's a holistic approach of it. It's not one or another. And then we talked about in the future, going in the future, it's not even enough. It's looking at transformationally. It's looking at it from a whole holistically. It's changing also the culture. The culture when it comes to collaborative culture of scale and speed. So it's not enough. You do it by yourself. You have to have your partners and your folks working with you. It's not enough that you just do it in a small scale, but you have to scale up. And the speed of it is very important because there's opportunities that you miss if you don't go in that. And the final thing, as we said, it's the crawl, walk, and run approach. This is how you go from step to a step as you go through the transformation of today's future trends in cybersecurity. So I'll open for questions. That's a very good question, and it's unfortunately regulations are good, but it's beyond regulations, and we've seen even countries not trusting countries because of devices. We see the U.S.-China war that's happening because of Huawei device. It didn't happen from vacuum, but it's because there's some reason. On a personal level, I have cameras in my home. I installed some cameras that I bought online. When I installed it, I figured out I don't trust because it's actually accessing my router. And if anyone has access to it, they're like I'm vulnerable now. So I took them out of the network. So this is how serious those things are. We cannot policies. It will not be enough for us. It's more of an educational approach for us to understand what does it mean to be secure on a personal level, on an organization level, and on a country level. What does it mean to be secure? How do you secure yourself? What does it mean that for example, when you communicate, which is other, what's the protocol that communication you use? What information are you passing to the other? When you say I accept, and even you accept a cookie in an internet browser, what does it mean? That what are you given for that cookie to take? So it's more and more really. It's not just it's more I think the personal awareness that we have to put into place to make sure people do not give up information they don't need to give up. No, I mean the best. Yes, yes. What I say on a professional level, I would think that CISSP is one of the most trusted profession, kind of, if you as a professional that understand the framework of securing the information. I would encourage the CISSP more and more in that perspective. OSAP, yeah, OSAP, yep, 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 yep. That's important. I mean, as I said, it's new, so it's more covered when it comes to software, but it's not as much covered when it's or internet for the devices itself. So there's opportunities for sure, and there's a lot of research that's happening. It's not yet published, and I think I see it every year when I go to conferences, and more people interested in this area. There's opportunities there for sure. Very good point. Very good, Dr. Any other discussion items? Yes, and if you're hearing us online, if you have any questions, go ahead, please post it. I'm not sure there's a audio part, but if you can post it, that'd be great. We have a question here from Suleiman Faisal. First of all, thank you all for the opportunity. I have a question about the security challenges that government agencies seeking to achieve the digital transformation may face providing services to beneficiaries. What are the most important challenges from your perspective? Very good. So the question here from Suleiman Faisal, he's asking that as we go through transformation, our government agencies are trying to provide services for their beneficiaries. So what are those? So from that perspective, what we see that's very important challenges is identity. Identity is one of the important challenges, really. So as more and more you give access to customers, to citizens, to end users to use your devices and your services, you wanted to make sure that they are the people that are benefiting from it, the right people. It's not been obscured. It's not been used by other people in that sense. So one of the really most important for me, number one issue in security will be identity. Make sure the identity is there, number one, and then the identity theft that comes with it. So because when you are a beneficiary, you will give information. It's making sure that your information is secure and it's been used for the purpose it's been used for, not for any other purpose. So securing your information, number one, and number two, giving that identity validation, the IAM, identity access management, is very important in that perspective. And comes, of course, the single sign-on and all this managing that access portal in that perspective. Excellent. Any other questions? Yep. For the folks online, we've able to get there. So if you have any questions, please go ahead and submit it. You can submit it online. I don't think there's an opportunity to speak out, but if you have any questions, please go ahead and submit it online. Okay. Questions from the floor here. Okay, you can ask by chat, and if you want to raise your hand, also we can open the mic also, and we can have you ask the question live. Okay, question from the floor. Anyone has any questions on the topic in hand? Very good. So the question here on the floor is, what do you mean by zero touch? What does zero touch mean? And it's basically, if you had the opportunity, have you had internet services lately at home? Have you had like fiber rolled out to your home? Have you had a truck rolled out to you to get the fiber installed, internet services, 50, 100, 50? So somebody comes there, a technician works with you, comes to the home, surveys the home, and then does the work. Have you, in the future, what we're looking is sending you a USB and you plug it in, and that by itself will self-provision and will give you what you need from that internet speed. So it will be a wireless internet speed. It's the same thing like if you have ever have the Ring application, the camera application, when people can see you as you come in. Have you seen a Ring application? This one is self-provision. You program it, you install it. Doesn't need somebody to come in, and by itself you hook it to your internet, and then it talks to your application on the phone. The zero touch. You really need to really go in and provision it. Provision by itself. It's all done automatically. So we're talking about a situation where we really don't need to roll out trucks, no need to roll out technicians anymore. We're enabling the customer to be in control. So the customer will be able to self-serve himself without that opportunity of going up and down. Exactly. It's like self-serve. Yep. It's 100% zero touch. Very good question. So we have a question here by Ragad Nafit. Does cybersecurity always relate to business? I believe the topic of cybersecurity is wider than the business nowadays. All of us have the opportunity to secure ourselves because we all are we are vulnerable when it comes to our data, our privacy, when it comes to our access, when it comes to our information. Be it we all use credit cards, we all use, of course, people who like shopping use it more than others. We use our personal information to do business, to register our kids. So the amount of information, if you see it today in a personal level, you'll be amazed. If you go and just try to see things like Google yourself and see the information people have about you, you'll be very much amazed. So it's very important, even as just folks who have a family, folks who want to go about their life, have their work to do, have to be aware of what are the vulnerabilities in the personal life. Cybersecurity, I believe, has to be taught in the elementary level nowadays, not even in the university. In the elementary level, our kids have to have the understanding of what are they vulnerable to when they share information. Because all our kids nowadays, they're on some of social media platforms. They're accessing an Instagram, they're accessing some kind of TikTok, accessing some kind of platform that they are not aware of what information is being there and who's there in the other side. So it's not just business; it's also in a personal level. I think cybersecurity is an important topic that we have all to have the awareness, not just in university level, but in the school level, and I say in the elementary level, to be very particular. Yeah, I think first grade is where you start with them. First grade, they have to be immune. First grader nowadays they use all kinds of devices. You go to your home, and I'm sure a first grader in your home is using at least 2, 3 devices, if not more. They're using their iPad, they're using the phone, their mama's phone, the grandma's phone, the grandpa's I don't know, iPod, iPad, and devices, tablets here and there. So it's devices that they have access to. So we have to secure them. As I said, I mean, education will start from grade first, and it's about what is it, how, like we say, how you have to carry yourself online, how to carry yourself online. So it starts from just typical hygiene of using a device to the typical more advanced topic of guarding yourself against intruders and folks that can harm you. So a question from Oud Qahtani here. How can we raise employees' awareness of new technologies, privacy, and security basic protocols so they can work with tech people toward an automated system? Very good question here. So the question is, how can we raise it? It's by integrating security into our daily awareness program. We see that a lot of time, a lot of companies, they look at security as something we do after the fact. So after we get hacked, after we get hit, after we lose money, we start thinking about security. But it's cost of opportunities that happen before is what really makes sense. And that's the hard part, is how to quantify to people until you go and get somebody to hit you and to hit you hard to start thinking about security in a personal level and then in a company level. So what I think is that there will have to be a more and more work within executive team, leadership team, to understand that this topic is not an afterthought. It should be a topic that should be addressed. A lot of companies nowadays, they're hiring a chief information security officer, a CISO, to just handle security because of that security now. A lot of businesses is a digital business, so it's not anymore. Should we have to? How much and how big of an education we have to? So we have to really put security the same on the same level when it comes to health, safety, and environment. It's a health hazard, it's a safety hazard, and it can be an environmental hazard. So if you have an HSE, security has to be integrated within. Good questions. We'll take one more question, either online or from the audience here. Yes, go ahead, please. Very good question. So when it comes to uh, organization level, it's what I believe there's 5 levels of classification. So we have to understand what we call CIA, correct? The confidentiality of the information, the integrity of information, and you understand where they sit, correct? So this means that the information that you are sending, you have to understand: is it open? Do you mind publishing it in the internet? Is it information just internally? Is information confidential, or if it's strictly confidential? It's top secret. So it's very important in big companies. What we do, we level it to 5 levels, and in each email you get a level of tightness and security of that email. So it's very important actually. It's not just you send an email if it's open, because if you don't put any disclaimer, it's open. You take it that's level 1. It's an open. 100%. So classification, then I mean you have no control over it. Excellent, excellent, excellent. Thank you all. Thank you all who are listening to us here online. Thank you all who came physically. I hope you had a useful session, and we look forward to have more of it in the future. And if you want to contact me, I would publish my information, my private information. It's in LinkedIn. It's Dr. Raed, Raed, Sbeit. Uh, that's my personal name. You can see me in LinkedIn and you can connect with me online. Thank you and have a good day.
شكرا جزيلا، ان شاء الله اشوفكم في محاضرات جايه مع